Hello everyone and welcome back to Dragalia Foundry, a fan channel where everything Dragalia Lost can be found. This video is going to contain my first ever clear of Asura's Blinding Light on the Legend difficulty. This new content released earlier this week and I finally had a chance to check it out this weekend. So in this video I'm going to share my first clear as well as my thoughts and impressions on this new battle. Of course, this is our third in the series of Legend difficulty Sinister Dominion battles coming after Lilith and Yaldabaoth, which were previously released. In all of these fights you have to prepare two different elements of teams. In this case, you start off the battle using a flame element team, and the second phase you have to use a shadow element team. So it's the opposite order of what's found on the master difficulty of these respective fights. So on Master Asura you start off with a shadow team and then switch to a flame team. In the second phase, it's just the opposite of that here, as has been the case with all of these Legend difficulty battles, and really, this one is pretty similar to the Master difficulty. At least that's my impression. I haven't looked at a lot of outside resources on this one yet, just kind of went into this blind, try to bring some of my best teams here, really ones I had built for other purposes, but just sort of adopted for this, such as the Flame Mercurial Gauntlet, or for autoing earlier difficulties of other content like Master Surtur. And basically, they kind of just got the job done. This was a very grindy fight for me. I'm sure there are a lot of ways to speed this up, but Asura really feels quite spongy. So that's my overall impression on her battle. I think that's similar on all difficulty levels, but as players optimize and improve their rotations, improve their character selection, that is the kind of thing that does tend to improve. Not to mention, I didn't have the best Kaleidoscape Worm Prince here because I really haven't been playing that mode with a lot of shadow adventures in particular for that phase 2 of this battle. So there's lots of room for improvement on this clear. It took me until literally 5 seconds left to where I was not at all confident that we were actually going to get the clear, but unfortunately that made the fight a little bit boring to me because most of the times I failed in this one, it was just getting to the end and running out of time, which made it very time consuming. It's kind of nice. In the Legend difficulty Agito fights, a lot of them have hard mechanics that you might just fail early and then get to start over. Maybe that's not always the case, because some of those do tend to come in Berserk, and that is at the end of the battle. But I do prefer to fail sooner if I'm going to fail so that I can retry, rather than have content where it just feels like the boss is super tanky. So that's kind of the vibe I got from this one. I'd be curious to hear what folks out there think. Maybe you have better team setups for this. Usually the Legend difficulties come with some type of twist on the earlier difficulties, and in this case there is at least one twist that I noticed, but it wasn't particularly meaningful in my eyes. I think it's a cool design space. Basically, the orbs that Asura summons, half of them are ranged orbs and half of them are melee orbs, and you're going to deal more damage if you are using the appropriate type of adventurer. So it gives you some incentive to use a mix of melee and ranged characters on your team, but honestly you could still destroy the orbs with the opposite type of weapon choice anyway, so it really didn't feel like it made a whole lot of impact. I mean, maybe it speeds things up enough if you're really careful about it that it makes a big difference, but in my mind it just kind of felt like the same as the Master difficulty. The other thing that can be difficult in this battle, besides timing out, is the Divinity Slayer mechanic, and we'll see this in phase 2. We might get a glimpse of it in phase 1 as well, though we're about to end that here. But it's basically when Asura summons a weak point, there's a lot of chaos, a lot of things happening on screen, which can make it difficult for your allies to target that weak point and deal enough damage to it. If you don't deal enough damage to it within a time limit, your run is over and it essentially wipes out the whole team. So yeah, that can be a challenge. I ended up saving, or trying to save, some skills, and I wanted to save a dragon for it, but I don't think I actually ended up doing that in this successful run. But that was a little bit tricky to navigate. Here I'm using the same team that, actually I guess this isn't my Surtur auto team, because Gala Zethia is on here. I think this is just like a random team that I was trying out. I found in my collection of teams and just kind of went with it, added some Kaleido prints and basically said, sure, why not, let's see if this works. And it did end up working, and so yeah, it was very close, but I had 2 melee characters and 2 ranged characters, but here one of my ranged characters is the healer, Summer Verica, so might be a little harder to deal with some of the ranged orbs. In the first phase, definitely having a Yahan de Toha, I'm sure, is a tremendous benefit just because they're able to keep the team healthy while dealing a lot of damage. I don't know if maybe there's some strategies to dealing with this that don't involve a lot of healing, because it does seem like, although there's a lot of chaotic attacks, that maybe they could be avoided, and corrosion doesn't seem to be as big a deal in this battle. At least it wasn't for me, but it could have been the choice of healers I had once again. But certainly getting that Ayahan de Toha Dragon form to deal with a lot of orbs at once, and therefore get a lot of strength buffs, was super nice. Here we have our first Divinity Slayer attack, so we've seen this in other forms of Asura before, whether that's Trials of the Mighty, the Raid Battle I think had this, the earlier difficulties have this Divinity Slayer, and now we have it here. But it can be risky. I died to it at least once, so especially with a character like Zethia, where Bahamut's attacks are not foretold necessarily at what time they'll happen. If you haven't played through, with the same type of rotations as in previous rounds, you may not know exactly when those are going to fire off unless you have super consistent runs. So things like that can make it a little risky. It's probably better to be a little better prepared than I was, but still, I really enjoyed using Alberius, just one of my favorite characters in the Shadow element overall, so I did want to bring him to this, and despite some clear hiccups there that were kind of embarrassing, he still has a nice second skill to deal with a lot of the orbs, and being in dragon form, he becomes quite tanky as well. Maybe not the best choice to use Chthonius here because I wasn't really trying to auto or anything like that, and that's where Chthonius kind of shines, but there's only so many Shadow Dragons I have. I guess it is one of the more stacked elements with dragons, and I decided to put this here with Gala Bahamut on Zethia, Gala Reborn Nidhogg on Silas, and then Azazel on Summer Verica. On my other team, also kind of stacked on the dragon side, I had Mars on Ayahan de Toha, I had another Mars, I'm pretty sure, on Kimono Ellie, and then I had Gozu Tenno on Leonidas, and Reborn Agni on Gala Laxi. Definitely want to try this with a few other adventurers as well, just see how it goes. But for me, this kind of just feels like something to do at this point. There wasn't a whole lot new to it, and I hate to say that, because I have been having fun lately in Dragalia Lost. And this is fun enough, but it kind of just felt like something to finish before the weekend, just make sure I get my weeklies in. It might end up being that way for me, unfortunately. I have been having more fun in Yaldabaoth, actually, since its release. After getting some of those Primal Dragon weapons, it started to feel a lot funner and more comfortable to clear for me. But as time goes on, I think I try to be ever the optimist, and I like all the Sinister Dominion battles in their own way, and I think that I've always tried to be excited about the new elements they bring to the game. But as time goes on, I do think that the Agito as a series have been a lot stronger, and I'm more excited about where the Primal Dragons are headed, because I do think there's a lot of appeal to Primal Midgard Swarmer. Here you see the break gets delayed a little bit there, so I didn't have that many skills up. But yeah, it's not a big critique per se of the demon bosses in the Sinister Dominion, but between Nihility, Corrosion, all of the things that a lot of players lamented, I also think just fundamentally, maybe they're just, it's the same arena, it just doesn't feel as interesting to me. And it might be that time has dragged on with them, we fought them a lot in Trials of the Mighty and all this other content, that I'm kind of over it and just ready to get Primal Brunhilde. That's the battle I'm most excited about personally, but this was a pretty good one. I'm going to be doing this for my weeklies and whatnot, so we'll let y'all know how it goes. Of course, tomorrow we're getting a preview of the next Summon Showcase. It's got to be Gala Emil. I'm still standing by that. I think that that's going to come to pass. You'll probably know by the time I finish posting this video whether or not that was true. And then the day after, we're going to get our Alberian Royals event, where you could see from the preview trailer, it looks like Valix, Ferris are going to have prominent roles to play. So I'm super excited to learn more about them. It is an invasion event in the end, and maybe we'll get some surprise character on the Gala banner at the end of the month. Maybe we'll get actually one of the Royals alongside Emil. Maybe not, but that would be a pleasant surprise if it happens. Right now, I'm thinking that banner is going to be a skip for me, barring something crazy, because my Wehrmite is still super low after the Kimono Knot summoning session. So gotta save up, gotta grind that event compendium too. Still catching up on that, and of course, with it being the end of the month, it's Alberian Battle Royale time. It's time to make sure you finish all your Kaleidoscape stuff, and so on. But that is pretty much going to do it for today, everyone. So yeah, 9-minute, 55-second clear for my first clear of Legend difficulty of Asura's Blinding Light. Let me know how it went for you in the comments below. I wouldn't be surprised, depending on your roster and your dragons, if some of y'all are timing out with this and maybe you've had to develop more advanced strategies to take it on. I'd be curious to hear about that too. Once again though, that is pretty much going to do it for today though, everyone. So thank you as always for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time.